Wait, I am live on YouTube? Am I live on YouTube actually? Wait, hold on. Hello everybody. Okay, if I am live on YouTube right now, just know, today I'll be going over everything in the title. And if you're watching this in the future, just know, I'll be timestamping, or if you're watching this in the future, I will be timestamping everything I talk about today in the comments and in the description. So for now, hold on. I was a bit caught off guard. I didn't know I went live already, so give me 1 second, okay? That is if I am live, if I am on YouTube. So yeah, definitely let me know if everything is all good, okay? But anyway, yeah. Let me get everything set up. I probably should have done that again. I probably should have done that like earlier, but once again, I didn't know I went live. Okay, I didn't know I went live this quickly. Anyway, I still need to connect my freaking phone to my PC. Give me 1 second. Power mirror. So I'll get and power. But it's fine as well because we can also just wait for people to come as well. So. Oh wait, right now, my bad, mic test. I didn't, hold on. Mic test. Oh wait, right now, my bad, mic test. Okay, I was speaking, but I forgot my freaking thing was gone, so, okay. Or, I forgot I put on my mic. Well, anyway, let me connect my phone back to stuff, so. Come on, speed up. I don't know what's taking so long with my phone to connect to the PC. Alright, give me 1 second. It's fine, we can just wait for people. While we're at it. So yeah, sorry for being muted. Just going into all my accounts, okay? Alright, where am I? Am I live? Oh, meow meow, 欢迎 and also let me make sure the song is in the loop. And not, and not something else. Alright, and is my YouTube chat connected to my OBS? I do wonder as well, because again, this is a chance if you want to ask me any questions live, I'll be answering any questions you might have. So, alright, just give me 1 second. Let me make sure everything is set up, everything is well. Alright, where is my YouTube chat? There you go. Let me make sure I got the right one. Okay, good. Alright, okay. Now, where is my phone? Where's my phones? Oh, there you go. Alright, finally. Alright, we are finally here. So, today we'll be going over, the new stuff that's coming in. Most of it are already here. And of course, we're going over the, we're going over Fafnir. We're going over all the pilots, about only Spike, because the other pilots are not really that, are nothing that too interesting. But I'll just go over them pretty quickly. But just know that those pilots a lot of them are very, very old, because I know. But still, glad Ian did get this did get this collab though. We don't know the exact reason why we couldn't get it last time. But at least it is here. And of course, we're going on with Fafnir, as well as Zulong, the Torchbearer Retrofit, as well as Ian's Awaken. Alright, so, what should I get started with? I think I should get started with the one that I can just get through very fast, so give me 1 second. Let me just make sure, drink some water and all. Hold on. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so let's start with Yenzu, or however you say it in English, right? Yenzu Awaken. Now, Yenzu Awaken is nothing too special. She is, like, I mean, for those who know the game, that you guys can probably already tell that she isn't anything too crazy, and, but she can be, I guess she can be used in Apex, in like the team, you know, for example, if you have a team that you don't, you know, oh my goodness, I don't even have the, yeah, there you go. But if you have a team, so nerfify damage for a short time, and upon actions after the activation, you know, it will shoot out. Okay, on here it says 3, but on NC it says 6. So once again, another mistranslation potentially. So it doesn't matter if it's 6 or 3. It is not something that can, you know, I guess determine the battlefield that easily, so it's nothing that should be maxed for. And of course, once every 5 seconds, track enemy units within radius of 4 units, and but the damage that they will be dealing will only be one. Hold on, Jesus Christ, how wrong is this? Okay, yeah, there are a lot of mistranslation, I think, for Ian on this one, because it is not 1 to 65%, it is just pure 65%. So, alright, also, 1 second, Jesus Christ, why is my throat so weird? Alright, sorry about that. So, it is just pure 65%, I don't know why it is 1 to 65. I guess it's because the level is not up, but either way, it should be 65% all the time. But even then, this skill is not that great. Or I guess it is good, like it is usable, but in that is very you know, circumstantial. Maybe only in some. Yeah, it might just. Yeah, I don't know. I think the range of the activation is the one that really screws this skill over. But if you're in a 1v1, I guess it can probably work. But then it will kind of lose the appeal of the, you know, the taking the targets or taking the aggro for the enemies or for the allies. So yeah. But I guess it is fine overall. And then the third skill, I think, is the one that is the best. Is let me see the Ian translation. Make sure the Ian translation isn't wrong. Found every deal value by non-normal tribute plus 28%, and of course decrease weapon switch in action transition 3 by for all of all enemy by 21%. This is the most, I think, competitive skill that it has. And the found damage value increase is fine. But it does limit, you know, hurt on, you know, non-normal attribute units, and of course, you know, the debuff for the enemies are the most important ones, because, you know, a lot of the units now, like the Hongwu, the Byron and such, they all rely on the speed of the action cooldown. Oh, actually, hold on, is it? Okay, oh, never mind. Okay, my bad. My bad then. Okay, I thought it reduces action cooldown, but it doesn't even do that. It just reduces the weapon switch and action transition speed. And I do have to say though, maybe against certain mecha or like the other ones are it might work, but most of the mechas, right? Most of the mechas nowadays, they already have like the good speed for, you know, for all those things preset for you immediately. So I don't think this will even be that much of a I guess a problem, I guess. Yeah, nothing much. Okay, once again, I thought she was a lot better than she was, because I thought she literally reduced the cooldown by 21%. And since she didn't do that, yeah, she's not that great on that front either. So, and then Lady Fox, this is the skill that used to be pretty strong, or I guess in certain situations for you to test out is pretty strong. The you know, the heal 20% HP for every, you know, for every unique action on the field. This now this one added final damage receive minus 20%, and for every, you know, non-faction it does now a percentage based HP increase. So But once again, it is a bit way too situational. I guess you can do this, you know, against certain bosses, like maybe use her as a tank. But tanks now, like your team setups now in a high level are usually, or at least, you know, when you are at a point where you can awaken pilots, there's no reason, you know, your tank wouldn't be able to tank as well. And so you wouldn't need to rely on this skill, you know, for certain cool setup for it to work, especially when the old skill might even be better at that, because you can, you know, lower your HP by a lot, so you can be constantly getting back up to full HP pretty consistently. Now with, you know, with percentage HP, then that will be a bit hindrance, because you know, even if you are using a low HP unit, even if you're using a low HP unit, I guess, like, how do you say, like, yeah, percentage base is not, like, it will depending on how high your HP is, and it might just not be that great, because usually you're using this skill along with firm steel for like a, you know, for like a very low HP but very tanky units that is unkillable. So but yeah, so overall it might even be a downgrade then, or like as in like utility wise, or at least how she was used back then. She might even be a downgrade for that, because her main utility back then was to use, you know, social butterflies as a, like, a weird low HP tank somehow, and now it's kind of just being like a, I don't even know what this unit are supposed to be. You know, the second skill, like, she's not exactly tanky either, so like her second skill might just kill her for most of the time, and yeah. She is definitely on like the lower priorities for you to awaken, and what else, and even a debuff on enemies maybe can be good. Again, the best place you can probably use her are probably either Apex or Zenith if you're lacking pilots, but you probably want to, how do you say, have a, Jesus Christ, what am I saying? Yeah, you probably want to use a better units than her, and I think even Becca's Awaken might be even more competitive than her into this meta. So despite she having a more, you know, I guess up to date skill sets, I guess, or like the, you know, the skill terminologies, I guess she might be able to be used in very certain aspect, I guess, or in very certain modes, but outside of those kind of situations, that will probably be, you know, better if you're using something else. So not that, you know, not that really. So save your awaken points, awaken someone else. It will be a much better bet for that. All right, now let's get to the Cowboy Bebop collaboration pilots. So you can get 2 of them for free. One from, you know, or 2 from, you know, from how much you do in the progress of the research points, and of course on the very last one you can also get the pet, which is pretty good as a DPS, because it just flat out adds some, you know, fan damage for you. However, with the units we have now, it might not be the best anymore. However, if you're free to play, or if you're a new player, you know, definitely try to get this unit. You know, it will still be a pretty good pet for you to have, especially when you don't have, you know, solo badge for you to get, you know, the better PvE pets. So, and then Jack Black, and one thing about her is that she can only be used as a co-pilot. I'm probably gonna be using NC, because NC is a little bit text is just a little bit more accurate. So let's go into her skills. So let me see if I can find I'm just gonna try to see if I can find one, like, yeah. So her skills, so I don't think this was specified anywhere, but she can only be used as a co-pilot skill. And as you can see, all four of her skills are co-able, and I don't really think any of them really matters that much, aside from the special co-pilot skill, that is the the increased chance for your activation of your chassis of your other stuff. Now most of the skill that this thing can buff can probably couldn't get it to like 100% or something, but it definitely can make it, you know, activate more likely, because, you know, it does add 80.8% of it onto the skills. So, but again, it is a lot more meme than usable, because, you know, most of the skills now, I guess they are, yeah, I don't know, some, you know, a skill that is too OP with this skill are likely not stackable, as far as I know. Otherwise, you know, this skill would have been a lot more usable. But, you know, if you're using something for fun, or if you're using, yeah, if you're using something for fun, hold on, why is there a dual sound? Let me just make sure everything is fine. Okay, come on. Okay, so yeah, just mainly just for fun. But if you do lack, I guess, co-pilot skill, this potentially can be a unit that they put on maybe something like if you're still using, you know, Juzioma. Juzioma does have some chance activation skill, so that can be something that can use it on. But otherwise, yeah, nothing too crazy, nothing too nothing too crazy. The support skill also, yeah, it's not that important. Yeah, it's not that important, yeah. Especially when, you know, well, I guess, hold on, yeah, it's on 12%, so I don't really think that there's something that, will be that useful. But, you know, if you actually lack, I guess, co-pilot skill in Apex, this is potentially one that can put on, but, yeah, I don't think this will be something that would really change the battle, for that much. Now, the support skill, this one, it will be actually useful. However, the main problem with this is that it is outdated compared to a lot of, you know, the better DPS skill that can be using on even on Spike, you know, or some other units. Or no, yeah, Spike, you don't want to use this skill, but it's definitely, yeah, way too outdated skill for PvE DPS. So active skill, yeah, it's nothing else, also nothing too crazy. You know, most of the time active skill as a co-pilot skill are always not good because it is way too slow. So yeah, that should be about her. So she is nothing. Yeah, she is probably the best after Spike, because of her chance acting skills. But that's about it. Yeah. Most of her other skills are pretty outdated. Her special are the only one that is more unique, because it is, you know, because no other pilots does have this kind of skill yet, or at least not one that is co-opable. So yeah. So now on to the guide, onto the ballman. So yeah, all of his skills are pretty outdated. Yeah, first of all, you wouldn't be using him as a main pilot, of course. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I even need to talk about this. The only co-opable skill is the defense one. First 42, you know, damage is negated, but you know, just think about how much damage you take per match. This thing is gonna be used up almost in like 1 or 2 seconds. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Now, the like, I guess this one could be useful. However, you know, in this meta, this pilot being so outdated is gonna get instant kill. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess you can use it on something like Feng Huang or something like that, but there are better units for this now. There are better skills that can, you know, tank aggro's now, especially we have, you know, the Ying Qi and such. So definitely nothing that you want to use. Or definitely this thing will just, you know, make him die even faster. So, after, you know, taking 10 damage, 10 damage, it can it will heal. It'll heal for both ally and for self by 5% HP. Again, it's a pretty outdated. Skill that even if it's co-pilot skill, I wouldn't really see it being used a lot. So yeah, especially with a gap of 8 seconds. So active skill, yeah, it just heals. Doesn't really matter. So that's about him. But I mean, for free to play, he will still be potentially a good unit that you can probably use for a tank, I guess. But outside of that, it's not gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be that useful. And then now onto the girl now, or onto the Thea, or whatever her name is. Let me see. I don't remember where she was, but let me go check her out. Look. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Do I not have her? Oh, there you go. So well, at least she has more skill that is more callable. So active skill, just I think it's just light as active skill, nothing too special. Just shooting, just do it depending. Or yeah, actually no, never mind. That is the first 2 weapon. This one is random weapon. So yeah, but yeah, nothing too crazy. But I mean, I guess the shooting speed is kind of potentially, I guess, unique. But that's about it. Yeah. This one is also, yeah, this one's also not that great. It just lowers enemies' attack, and which doesn't matter. It's only for 2.8 seconds, or it's only for 5.6 seconds. So it's nothing, nothing too crazy. This one is just extend EM durations, nothing too crazy. Into this meta now, and this is probably the one that is more, I guess, more I guess unique. Is another thing to deal with, what's it called, skill activation chance. But this skill is not callable, so you wouldn't be using her as a main pilot unless, of course, unless there's like a mecha that come out that really plays into the chance activations. But we already have skills like that already now. Like we already have a lot of mecha that does deal with that now, and we really wouldn't see her be used as well. So yeah. So like most of the skills that will be OP with chance activations, they are not stackable usually with with certain skill. Like for example, Matilda's force skill and such, right? And skill that wouldn't be too OP even with the addition for the chance are usually the only skills that is usable with these kind of skills. So yeah, so that is her. I don't know her name in English, but I don't want to spend time to check. Alright, now on to Spike. Spike is the one that is the most, useful. Even to this day, people are still using him as a top PvE DPS. So, for him, her main stuff about, like, her main, or his main, thing is her last skill that, when your reaction, right? When your reactions stats are higher, then when your reaction stat is higher than the enemies, it will increase your final, it will increase your final damage, and it will increase your final damage by 40%, and for every 10 points higher, it will add an additional 10%, and there's no limit on that. That's the reason why Spike has always been the top DPS since almost forever at this point, right? So, and and even more now that we have a lot more I guess skills and mecha that has to do with I guess debuffing and buffing allies, or debuffing enemies stats and buffing allies stats. That's why he has always been a top PvE DPS. And his other skills not that really well, I mean his active skill can be pretty useful even in PvE as well, but his other skills are nothing too crazy. Now his co-pilot skill for tech is not too bad, but yeah, it is nothing too crazy into this meta, so you will probably be using some other co-pilot skill. But again, if you are lacking PvP pilot skill, this can potentially be one that I can use. But yeah, that's about it. Well, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the being knocked down, have a 60% chance to, to go back up again. Like, I'm not sure if this will work on force knockdown. If it does, then it actually may have a better use into this meta as well. But I don't really see people using this, skill. Most people just, use, get out of just skills now. So yeah, I don't think, I mean, otherwise this skill, we'll be seeing more of this skill anyway. So, but well, actually I don't know, because if you're constantly being knocked down by force knockdown, this might be able to do something about it. But yeah, it is a skill that you can use if you really lack co-pilot skill, like let's say in Apex or in Zenith or something. So But other than that, his last skill is the one that is the most useful, and how you use it is just when you're building a PvE team, just make sure to add in some things that had to do with increasing your increasing your allies or both increasing your allies stats increase or lower enemies stats or pilot stats increase. So your DPS would just be your normal DPS. Like for example, you know, using this using the core, using the I guess just, you know, just your usual top build for your DPS. Like whatever it would be, like can also be, you know, like a melee units, but you know, for more general it would just be this one. And the co-pilot skill would just be you know, the best co-pilot skill that you have available, right? For example, for me it'll be the Goddess Paradise attack skill, which back then I was using his I guess special skill, which is not the one that'll give the most DPS. So my bet on that. I thought, yeah, I mistake its support or its special skill with his attack skill, so or with her attack skill. So it will be her attack skill. But you don't, if you don't have her, you can just use the best one you have. Like you can even be, you know, Veronica's or yeah, her attack skill, or just, you know, the one that give you the most amount of DPS. It can be, you know, the one with the highest you know, fire damage value increase and such. So so that should be the build just for Spike, at least into this meta. You just, you know, use him on the top DPS that you have and build the, you know, and build the mecha with the highest DPS that you can have. Now there are parts, like for example this one, that has to do with, you know, that has to do with I guess pilot stats increase. However, you have to make sure that the parts that you're using, like basically, for example, if you're using this one, right, the damage that you get from the stats increase wouldn't be higher than, you know, the one that you get from, you know, this one, or even, you know, or even the Majin core. So you then have to do some calculations in for the future if there are more, you know, parts that has to do with, you know, stats increase and such. And now for the stats increase for your allies and for the stats decrease for the enemies, that will be the role for your support to do it. For example, when you're using Spike, you just have to make sure you put in something like now most people probably already have this parts on, but if you haven't, you definitely want to use this parts now, because when the enemy takes, you know, mixed type damage, now yeah, when the enemy takes mixed type damage or gets mega type damage, there's 33% chance to lower enemies all enemy stats by 220 and 290 points. Now that's a pretty huge increase. That's like a 29%, you know, stats increase for Spike. So this is definitely something that you want to use if you're using Spike as a DPS. I mean, you probably already you're probably already using it, but you know, this time even more so that you want to use it. And of course, for another, you know, for your melee or something, you definitely want to use him. I don't know his English name, but that's what he looks like. And you want his attack, because it will also it can also make enemies or it can also reduce enemies what's it called, status by 20%. So yeah, gonna be pretty important. And of course, there are still more skills that you can probably add on for this one, or for Spike, and that will just be depending on what you have, and of course, you know, if there are any more future units that does that. For example, I am using RG, which is, yeah, Radiant Gosh Hawk. I'm using him because his skill does, you know, will buff your allies' active skill. And of course, if you want to use Guts, Guts can also reduce, you know, enemies' stats as well. So that is also a unit that can use it on. And of course, you know, even for older ones, right? Like, so let's say we're using what is a good pilot on right now for support? So let's say we're using you know, Ryoma, right? Or whatever his name is, I don't even remember. Let's say we're using him as a support, as a PvE support, and there is an old a unit that does increase, you know, all allies stats, which is, let me see where she is. Dream Guardian. Yeah, they go Dream Guardian. Now, Dream Guardian, oh my goodness. Yeah, Dream Guardian, oh my god. Okay. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, Dream Guardian has an aura that does increase, you know, that does increase all allies pilot stats. So, you know, she is something that I can feel actually, just to give, you know, just to give your Spike a little bit more damage increase. Now, it doesn't mean you should have, you know, everyone that you have that has to do with, you know, like stats increase and such. Just like, I guess you kind of had to do calculation. Like, for example, right, you probably wouldn't want to use Dream Guardian in this team, in this setup, because, you know, it wouldn't do, yeah, it wouldn't be better than using, say, like, hold on. I'm just gonna pick a random pot. So let's use him again. Like, it wouldn't be better than using like Michael, right? Michael will be a better choice, because Michael can, you know, yeah. For example, Michael, because it'll be a better choice for Michael, because Michael can buff Morgan Rod even more. So you'll do more damage even if you're not using Dream Guardian. But, you know, this is something that they had to do, you know, like either test it out or do some calculation to see, is the pilot or is the units that you field or the parts that you field, the stats increase will do more damage than if you were to use something else, right? So that's something that you should look out for when you're building a PvE team. I don't want to say like look, I don't know what the best PvE team, especially for Ian, is. That's something that I can ask, you know, the top PvE players. But I'm just telling you what is the best thing, or what are something to look out for, right? You know, don't just, you know, put out everything for, you know, stats increase or stat debuff for enemies. You also have to, you know, make calculations to make sure that, oh, is the, you know, or like for example, like, is the co-pilot skill, you know, better than certain, you know, other skills that can potentially give a Spike, or I guess the pilot or the mecha that Spike is using more DPS. But most of the time, for at least for these two, yeah, at least for him and this part is usually just better than if you were to use some other parts. But, you know, this, you know, in the future, maybe, you know, there might be, you know, more different kind of builds or different kind of stuff that come out that can, I guess, make a difference, I guess. So, especially, like, maybe one day there are bosses that will increase, I guess, a boss with a stats that is way too high for Spike or something like that. But yeah, anyway, so that's how you use Spike in PvE. It's just to, you know, like, just your normal, yeah, your regular best PvE setup, but in addition, switch out some skills that increases either allies pilot stats, or decreases enemies pilot stats. Do something like that and it should be good. And, you know, just look out for the sacrifices, you know, on the stuff as well. Alright, now let's get into Fafnir. Now, okay, we have a free roll today. Oh, why not? I'll roll later. So Fafnir is actually in NC right up as well. So Fafnir, huge long chassis and such. Now, okay, I wouldn't be going to too much detail on all of this, because again, I don't have Fafnir, but I have a lot of experience against it. Now, is Fafnir worth it? Only if you care about PvP for the time being, because Fafnir is basically a glass cannon, despite him having a lot of what's it called, I guess, survivability skills. Even on Hongwu, your Fafnir can die pretty quickly, especially with the bug fix. Now, you know, I talked about before about the bug fixes that in NC that nerf a lot of units, and Fafnir is probably the first one that got hit because of it. It is something about damage priorities that allows a lot of damage to be negated. Now, this I guess impacted Fafnir quite a lot, because now Fafnir can still do the huge damage that it does, right? For example, when you're using it with Hongwu, it can still, you know, be spamming a lot of XO and such to, you know, one-shot enemies, right? Even one-shotting the, you know, the little units, like for example I don't know, guts and such, right? It can still do that, but the problem is that it need to survive to a point that it can do that first. So if you just could get even a little bit unlucky, and you know, let's say enemies Fafnir is able to use it all on you first, then after the bug fixed, your Fafnir can potentially die a lot, like can potentially just die from that, like on the first 5 seconds of the of the match, even with Hongwu on. So so I guess for new players, this is definitely a unit that I don't think you should, you know, focus on. Even for free to play, even for free to play, you probably don't want to have, or you probably should save for some more worthy unit, or just for, you know, future collabs, and just sit out, you know, and just sit out this PvP for a little bit, because I really don't think it will be really worth for people to roll Fafnir if you're not into like PvP, because it would, again, I mean, there isn't a unit that I think can, I guess, replace the role for Fafnir that can, you know, dish out as much damage. But again, you know, do you also want to, like, I guess, gamble on it also dying in the first 5 seconds, right? In my opinion, it might be more worth it to just wait until, you know, Fafnir meta passes, or just, you know, get guts and such, because they might, you know, because Fafnir is usually only be usable in PvP, unless of course you're using him in Abyss, or in, you know, in the new modes, which could be a reason to roll for it. But, you know, I really wouldn't roll, like, I guess, roll for a specific unit for that. Oh my goodness, hold on. So I really wouldn't roll for hold on. I really wouldn't roll like a I really wouldn't roll a specific attribute unit just for Abyss, I guess. So but if you're a top player, or if you like Fafnir and you get this unit, you know, it is definitely usable as a, you know, as a glass cannon. But just know that, you know, you will be seeing this unit dying instantly, either to enemies, I don't know, like, what's meant, like, to enemies, you know, God, or to enemies, Grey Zeroman and such, right? Because again, after the bug fix, it really lacks the survivability that it should have back then. So, which I guess is fine, because I don't know, Fafnir did live for a long time because of the bug. Maybe not so much now that the bug has been fixed, but at least they didn't nerf what it is actually doing, which is, you know, being like being, you know, or at least it didn't nerf its damage potential, right? So if you were to bring it in, you know, 5 months later, right, you can probably still be one-shotting enemies, but just, you know, it'll be getting one-shotted as quickly, I guess. I don't know. So free to play, I really suggest you sit this one out. But you know, if you like Fafnir, I don't think you'll regret getting Fafnir, mainly just because, yeah, the one-shotting potential for the enemies as well. So, and what else? So, I think this is, well, Fafnir is definitely better at, you know, at A-star or more, because, you know, HP increase. Or because HP is starting to matter a lot more. But Fafnir is a unit that you don't require it to be, you know, even A-star yet, right? You can technically use Fafnir as 7-star, but I think Fafnir is the last unit that is allowed to do that. Because after Fafnir it will be, well, of course, Retrofit doesn't really count, but after Fafnir it will be Guts, you know, it'll be the Gauss Hawk and such. After that, you know, units are really starting to need, you know, A-star and more. So, I guess a good side of this unit is that it is sort of cheap, because you really just need, you know, chances and action. And it can probably be used in PvP as well as in Abyss. But you know, none of the mode are really matters for top or for free to play, or I guess for new players. but for new players, if you were to get this unit, you can probably use this unit to carry you through, you know, early arenas. But that would, you know, but it would be the same if you were to wait a little bit and get guts and such. So yeah, I suggest, yeah, it's for top players, I guess, for top players. But if you like this unit, even if you're not top players, it will still be usable, I guess, or it will still be useful actually. Just, you know, just it wouldn't be as useful as how it was back in NC, or it wouldn't be as necessary back, you know, compared to back then in NC. So, and I did fine without Fafnir as well back in NC, and I'm pretty sure after the bug fix, you know, player in EN it'll be even more fine for EN players. Now that now that the tanky bug are fixed. So that should be about Fafnir, and hey. Maybe one day there'll be more ice support DPS, and maybe Fafnir can be a potential DPS for cold, you know, for ice. Who knows? But by that time, potentially a better ice unit might come out. You know, who knows, right? But we'll see. For now, there hasn't been anything, so it's mainly just, yeah. If you want to use it in PvE, it would just be a best tool. So. What's next? Alright, now let's get into, Zulong the Torchbearer. So, Zulong the Torchbearer is a retrofit. Now, I made a video on Zulong, you know, the Torchbearer already, and in fact, I have 2 in EN, I haven't thought about, you know, using them yet, because, what do you say? It is, let me see, it is fine, but, it is a fine retrofit, but compared to everything we have now, yeah, it is, you know, bringing it on the field in top arena might not be that great, or might, you know, it wouldn't really help you win, I guess. But if you're talking about like a standalone retrofit, it is, I guess, on the upper side, I think, because you can use MPV. You can use MPVP, right? Just as like a, I don't know, I don't even know what it will be in this meta. But you can in Apex, I guess. You know, it will still be a pretty good unit to have. It got, you know, it got survivability, it got offensive abilities. But yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm not even sure if it can even get up after, you know, one X ult from, you know, from Graziomar. So yeah, because, you know, being immune to damage doesn't mean you're immune to, you know, CC and such. And yeah, I don't even think you have get out of just skills too. So yeah, but if you, let's say if you didn't enroll Fafnir, right, then you probably use this on, you know, Hongwu or something. But your Hongwu are probably better to be used on some other units, like for example, you know, on God, or on, you know, or on Fafnir and such, right? But this leaves your I guess your Zulong on some, I don't know what other possible, you know, pilot that can really have, like maybe Byron or something. But you know, it would just be even more, I guess, it would just be even more, how do you say, like it would just be even more vulnerable, I guess, into this meta. So, but people has used it, like some Zulong enthusiasts has used Zulong in top PvP, because, you know, EN is more forgiving in EN, so you can definitely use it, you know, in EN PvP, in top PvP. But just know that, you know, if it will not be, I guess, if you're facing against players who knows how to play the game, you will probably have a bad time using the Torchbearer. But otherwise, it should be fine in Zenith as well as in Apex. So, but definitely just for players who already have Zulong, you know, for new players, for free to play, for new players and such. Yeah, definitely skip this unit. So. Hello, welcome. You're the first comment today, actually. I think this might not be a good time to stream, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people here. Well, I don't know how people is actually watching, so but it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I just want to get through this, so, you know, players can watch this back later. So Alright, and now to the builds. Now the builds is just your normal Zulong build, or I guess your normal brawler DPS build. I am using this joint just for you to do even more. Good thing I never got Zulong. Yeah, but the thing is, again, it's mainly for players who already have Zulong, I think, and it will just be a good, Apex backup. Yeah, it's just to this meta is way too crazy, you know. For it. However, I'll get into his PvE though, because it is usable in PvE. Yeah, even though it is not, you know. Is not, you know, that great in PvP. In top, okay, I want to say in top PvP. In regular PvP, like if you're not in top, this team, you know, this unit might just steamroll a lot of units because, you know, they might not have, you know, great zero rate, they might not have God or some other, you know, broken units later on. So I'm using joints just for, you know, more cooldown because you're probably gonna be using this on Byron or Hongu because otherwise it's not gonna survive, right? So just for more spamming for the for Hongu skills, and now for the bullets you can use a fire sword, but in my opinion, I don't know. I might personally use the claw more just because the damage don't increase, right? For this sword, so it might be outdated pretty much more sooner. So yeah, and I don't really think you'll be doing damage using this thing either. So I'm probably gonna be using the claw even more just for you to get even more survivabilities, and just more range as well. And of course for the support using batteries, and for the armor it's just from steel, and of course you can use the shield armor if you have from somewhere else. And now for the coding is just Gaia because, you know, you're gonna be knocked down a lot in this meta, so just a little bit more survivability is there. And then for the pets, it's just Pisces again. You can potentially use, you know, a Scorpion, but yeah, let's try to let this guy survive first, right? Let's try to use this guy survive first. So I think using Pisces is a little bit better than using, you know, Scorpions, because, you know, you couldn't really even do anything if you couldn't survive first, right? It's like Fafnir, right? If your Fafnir died already, like died in first 5 seconds, it doesn't matter how strong, like how much one shot it can be, it will just still die. So, and then now for the support, just the usual, you know, support for it's just the usual support for Hongu and such. Is just to use, you know, either more action cooldown or something like a speed up action, like for example, her skill and such. But that's about it, I think. So that should be about the PvP build for Zulong Retrofit. Now to the PvE. Now PvE is where it kind of shines a little bit more because it's not on par with something like, you know, on KT, on the, you know, the usual blue guy, right? In PvP or in PvE as a top DPS, but it is a close runner-up second because of the, you know, the new buff or the new damage increase that it does, right? And of course its action, you know, all of them are modernized and such. So you can starting to use this unit as a fire DPS if you lack, you know, the blue guy, you know, the I don't know, KT. Yeah, if you lack KT, then this unit can be your fire DPS if KT is the only thing that you lack. But just know that it wouldn't really be on KT standard, because KT plays with stacking buffs from, you know, from speeding up its action. That thing, because there's no limit on that thing is something that no matter how much Zulong can do, you couldn't top it. But just the raw beefy stats that it has, it can already be a good DPS for fire team if you lack KT. So and oftentimes you will see both KT and you know, and this unit being used together in like a dual DPS fire team. Or I guess it would be a go-to DPS if you were to be using it as a dual fire team. So yeah, so again, if you're a player who already have Zulong and you also don't have KT, then you can definitely use this in PvE like this. And the team will just be, you know, your usual fire support team and such, right? So yeah. And yeah, that should be about it about the PvE. Yeah, the PvP and PvE for the Torchbearers. Alright, if there's anything I'm missing, I'll definitely add them into the comments and in the description. And of course, you know, everything I talked about will be timestamp in the comments and in the description as well. One thing I want to say is that you know, Cowboy Bebop collab is, I think, is ending soon. So definitely try to get. So yeah, definitely try to hold on. That's not the thing. Yep, that's not the Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, there you go. Cowboy Bebop. So yeah, the collab is ending soon. So definitely try to get at least 70, you know, 7,500 points before the collab ends, because yeah, 6 days left, so you can get the, you know, so you can get the pets out. Now, this much points is a tall order, so if you're starting it now, yeah, I would suggest skip. Just try to get Spike in the bar, or in some other places, or yeah, or in Heartbox, and just and just be done with it. But for those who is working on it but haven't got to 7,500 yet, try to get it so you can get a pet, because you know, who knows when this thing will come back, if ever, right? So yeah, definitely, yeah, look on that. The other, yeah, the research units are not necessary. Swordfish 2 can be used to test stuff, but it's only for test stuff, and that's for like you know, like very specific kind of players. So definitely not something that you focus on. It's mainly just to gain the points for you to get, you know, the pet, and of course the gift for you to use it on, you know, for you to use it in the bar, to try to get, you know, Spike on. So yeah, so definitely look on that when you are, you know, doing, yeah, if you haven't finished your, you know, your things yet. And of course, if you want like the good, you know, PvE build, right? You can just look at the team here. The top players are usually the one, you know, that has the best team setup for it. And of course, you can just ask them in Discord if you want to know more about, you know, more about those things, right? So, all right, I think that's about everything. I have some other things to say, but I'm probably gonna wait until next time, because I'm very tired, if you couldn't tell, and sorry if I sound a bit, yeah, low energy in this stream, just because I'm quite tired. I'm actually glad there isn't as much people here, because yeah, I don't want to sound very tired during the stream with a lot of people here. But either way, of course, yeah, you know, if you have any questions, just, you know, just ask in the comments, or just ask down in the comments, or, you know, Discord. And yeah, for now, I think I'll call it a day. And thank you all so much for coming by. And goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Sorry if I really sound weird today, because I think I do. I think I definitely sound a lot less enthusiastic today, so alright. Goodbye.